Hello everyone, my name is Miguel. Quick summary for the project, if you clicked on this video, is that this is a cloud-hosted Blender render farm. The URL is rendermyblender.duckdns.org, and the way it works is pretty simple. You just make an account, log in. There's a dashboard. If there's a project you want to render, and not do it on your own personal computer, but instead have a render cluster do it for you, you upload your packed Blender project and you can render either a single frame or an animation, or multiple frames. If you select single frame, it'll ask you for a single frame. And if you ask for multiple frames or an animation, it'll ask for a range. So say frames 1 through 10. You click render and it'll be added to a public render queue. And when it gets picked up, it renders your project, zips all the files, and puts it on the dashboard for you, where you can then download it, unzip the file, and you have all your frames. I will be doing a little demo for you guys here. Before I do the demo, though, I did want to address a few questions that you might have with this project, because we all want to have a little bit of a disclaimer before we start everything, and just to know how everything works. So I have a little FAQ here that I wanted to put here on the very front page before you even log in, so that you know exactly where my philosophy lies on this, what the overall policy might be, and how it all works, right? So for example, like, what is the service? Well, like I said, it's a Blender render farm. Um, how do you get started? Just like I said, make an account, log in, sign up, upload your project, render your frames. Is it free? I'll say yes, it is free, actually. It is a personal passion project right now. There is no kind of like free trial or cap on anything. It's just cap on like there's a few like contingencies. I'll say like a memory maximum, the maximum amount of storage for an account, sure, but you're not paying for anything here. And then below that, I did have another section I thought was very important, because it kind of has to do with the question of if it's free or not, right? There's a saying that I agree a lot with, which is that if something is free, oftentimes you're the product, right? And I want to say that this is probably one of the very few exceptions to that rule, uh, because I think that well, let's kind of get into this. It's my promise to you is that this is a passion project for me, right? And so as a result, I want to make sure that your passion projects remain your projects, right? So any projects that you upload to this website, any projects that you upload, any frames that you render, anything between that, regardless, your project is yours. The frames that you render are 100% yours. The project is 100% yours. They will not be used in any way for training, let's say, like what do I have written here? A generative large language model, right? I've seen a lot of cases now where there are websites where you can go in and you could type in a traffic cone and it'll create a 3D model of that traffic cone. And one thing we can be certain about is that large language model was most likely trained with 3D models of very passionate artists such as yourself, sometimes consensually, sometimes maybe not so consensually, right? So I want to make sure that I bear my responsibility in being as transparent as possible with how this platform is going to work, right? So, for example, when you delete a project or a zip file from the website, it is fully deleted. It's not going to be like the Google situation where you delete it and they hide it from you, but they keep it in the back end so they could learn more about you and scrape more of your data and serve you more like AI slop ads and stuff. No, that is not the case, right? As a matter of fact, a lot of this stuff is locally hosted, because I want to be absolutely sure that we don't put more data in the hands of big tech, and then also it allows me to be as confident in giving you my word as possible, right? And another thing, so whatever you upload is 100% yours, and I'm sorry, and we will not and never own any of it. I probably could have written that better, but like the other thought is, like, for example, if you render some frames and everything, it's not like suddenly a month later you're going to be driving down the road and imagine if I could rent out a billboard, right? But it's not like you're going to be driving down the road and you look at a billboard and you're going to be like, holy hell, that's my render up there, right? There's no like sneaky subtext to anything where it's like, oh, if you upload, then we get to use it for commercial purposes. No. There will never be an instance where well, I don't even want to say like transferred without your permission, because nothing here will be transferred, period, right? You upload a project, it's under your account and your name on the server's hard drive. You render a project, that zip file is under your name on the server's hard drive for your project. If you delete it, it's gone. If you don't, it stays there, and that's it. It stays there, and until you delete it. Um, and so, what do we have here? So the one thing that will be, oh yes. So in the honor of transparency, the last point on there is that the only thing that will likely be collected down the line, and I say that down the line because right now I don't have like code that does this. 95% of my coding work so far has been in setting up the render farm, but down the line, I think it would be really cool to be able to collect telemetry data. Telemetry data, like I have a few examples on here, would be things like things that I and would generally be considered like non-identifiable information. So polygon counts, render time per frame, file sizes. You have average texture resolution. Another one might be amount of light bounces or amount of light sources. Um, Things like that. I can't really think of many other examples, but like those I think are the most important. And so the idea really for that is just going to be that if this project does get popular and more people start using it, I want to be able to tailor the render farm to the needs of the people that are using it, right? If there is a certain style of project that most people are using that benefit greatly from higher RAM allocations as opposed to a high CPU core count, I'd rather know that, right? Um, and so that's the only information that may be collected at one point. But I just wanted to be absolutely transparent, saying that your projects are your projects, and the amount of work that goes into these projects, I want to make sure that into your projects. I want to make sure that I respect the effort that you guys put into that by giving you the most privacy and the most confidence that your work is your work possible, and that's kind of the thing, right? It's like I said earlier, like with Sheepit, I'd love to at one point bring this open source or make it kind of make this a little more auditable as well, so that way you don't have to take me at my word, but you can verify my word, right? So I will be interested in like looking at taking that approach as well, so that way we're all good, right? But anyways, so tutorial slash little demo, right? So you're gonna log in here. Let me move me here to the side actually before we do that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna log in. A little slow today. That's crazy. Okay, anyway, so one of the things, kind of like I was saying, is that a lot of this is locally hosted. So you'll probably notice here at the very top that we have 5 gigabytes of available storage. And the reason is because when I say cloud hosted render farm, I don't mean that it's hosted in AWS. I don't want to give Amazon, I don't want to give Microsoft, I don't want to give Google any more money than they already have. So a lot of this is actually like it's local hosted, right? And so, for example, the storage, when we talk about storage restrictions, it's not like it's something I can just scale infinitely as more people use it. As a matter of fact, the server is running on a Raspberry Pi 5 with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 32 gigabytes of available hard drive storage. And that's why I ask you, if you make dummy accounts, please don't make that many. And if you make a multiple, please don't max them all out, because I actually don't know what happens when we hit that memory cap. If more people start using it and I see that usage does creep up like that, then absolutely I will invest in the necessary components to make sure that that we don't have that issue. But for the time being, I ask that you please be respectful of other people's accounts by not hogging all of the data for yourself, all of the storage for yourself, right? So so down the line, this is very much like a flywheel style project. As more people use it, as it gets more popular, I'll put down the money to make it a little make it a little nicer. Maybe more than 5 gigabytes, or what's the other word? Or other like quality of life improvements, right? So I actually forgot to clear out this little example here from earlier. Why is my mouse not moving? Okay, there we go. Anyways, delete. Let me kind of clear this out so you guys can get a demo from the beginning. So it's very straightforward. It goes top to bottom. You want to upload a project, you can click or drag and drop. I'm going to click. I have my example file here, which I'll upload. Very quick. It's a very light file. And then this is what I was telling you guys about earlier. So single frame or animation. So I can render frame 1. I can render frame RT5, right? Render frame 5. I can do an animation. So I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm going to do frames 1 through 5. And I'm going to click Submit Render. So the way it works, like I said, is here we have a public render queue. So if I come in here and I submit another project, I will know that this is going to get queued under here, right? To the extent that anyone's going to be able to see this, it's really just going to be the first 3 letters of your email and then the 4 letters of your project name. That was just so that way, maybe it's a little bit more personable or something. I don't know. But you are able to see sort of the render process as it's going. And then when the renders are completed, it's going to clear out the one that's currently rendering. And then you'll see it as a zip file on your dashboard that you can download. One thing I will say, like I said, this is actually also locally hosted. The render cluster is hosted in my house. It's not hosted in a GPU pay per hour cluster or anything like that. It's actually it's hosted here. It's running on I have a newer workstation that I've been running this on. I have my parents' desktop that I built a couple of years ago, and then I have a workstation computer that I used previously that is also going to be running it. Running the like render code. The code for the rendering is what it's running. Now I will say they're not the fastest computers in the world, right? There are definitely faster render farms out there. I'll be fully transparent on that. But again, like I said, Flywheel Project, if this is something that people do start using more of, then we'll revisit it, right? And I really do hope that I can win by the sheer number of computers rather than the speed of any given computer, because honestly, like these can't compete with like some of the newer desktops we have today, but anyway, render's completed, click download, and then it's going to be here. So as you can see, I've run this test a few times. I've kind of failed at recording this video a few times as well, and then here we have it. You double click it, look in there, boom, there's frame 3, right? Again, not a fancy project, but oh, okay, looks like that also finished rendering. One thing I will say is that at least as far as everything has been going, the zip files and the project files both are added together, and that is what your storage used is. So that's why I stress that it's very important to make sure that you don't need the zip file here anymore. Just delete them. Honestly, just delete them. Download them and delete them. That's the best way you could do it. And then I guess one last thing, actually, I did forget to mention it earlier, is that the only cloud-hosted service that I am using is DuckDNS. DuckDNS is what I'm using for the URL. I don't have a fancy URL yet. Again, if it gets popular, then I'll go for it. But I will link the URL in the description. But DuckDNS, as far as I'm aware, uses Cloudflare. If I'm right, the way they use Cloudflare is just for tracking the dynamic IP address of my server, and that's it. So if the server IP address changes, there's no interruption of service on the website. As far as I'm aware, all of the data that you guys are sending goes straight to the server, not through Cloudflare. It's not a Cloudflare tunnel. It's none of that. It is just a dynamic IP address tracker. And the reason that I am so adamant about cutting out true cloud-hosted computing is because I can't speak to their policy. I can tell you absolutely confidently that this information, when you delete it from your dashboard, this right here, when you delete it, it is gone. It is gone from the hard drive. It is gone from the Raspberry Pi. It's not recoverable. I can't say the same about Amazon. Even if I have it coded that way, it gives me enough doubt that I don't want to deal with it, right? So being able to host this locally allows me to have the confidence to give you my word on these things. Um, and and yeah, so I'm gonna link this below. That's the whole demo, really. If you guys liked it, please, if you have any questions, let me know. I am thinking about making a Discord server for this as well. If I do, I'll put it in the description as well, so you could put any questions in there when I do, and then if anything, just put them in the comments. So yeah, happy rendering, and let me know if any feedback or anything. I will say, a few features that I am looking at adding are as follows, right? So as you noticed, you can't select what render engine you're using. It defaults to cycles, but I know, for example, the new Eevee engine is really cool, and I think Blender, is that 5.0? I think that recently came out. Would be really cool, especially if it's very fast. Um, Allowing you to change your resolution. Right now it renders in 1920 by 1080. Changing sample rates, changing light bounce, maybe not light bounces, that's a little nitty gritty, but allowing for important quality of life improvements on this like that, I think are very important. So those are down the line, but again, it does depend on just how much usage this website gets. So definitely let me know. And so thank you all for your time, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. All right, have a good day.